What is going on, everyone? I hope all of you guys are doing well. So, doing something a little different, filming at my dining room table and having a cup of coffee. And I wanted to do this video giving you guys my thoughts and kind of talking about the new documentary that came out recently called Quiet on the Set. This is a documentary that follows really um, the toxic work environment uh, with Dan Schneider and some of the cast members from All That, The Amanda Show, Drake and Josh, and things like that. Now, the individuals that are part of this documentary are, directors, some writers that were part of, the writing crew, and some of the cast members, of course. They interviewed, I don't know her last name, but her name is Giovanni. She was a All of That cast member, and then I think around the third season of The Sweet Life and Zack and Cody, she would get cast for that. They interviewed Katrina Law, who is one of the original cast members for All of That. Um, and a few other cast members. The ones they interviewed were really cast members that weren't really like big names, but they were part of the show, and they kind of just really talk about what they went through, and the weird and just hostile work environment that Dan Schneider made everyone feel like uncomfortable, and just the way he acted was just uncalled for. And apparently, they had at least four people that had work on some of these shows. Whether they were a writer or like a camera person or a producer of some sort, doing things they probably shouldn't have. And there was one specific person that really did something to a specific actor, who we do find out is Drake Bell, who apparently at that time it was a John Doe. Nobody really knew other than those who were close to him. But this is the first time we're finding out that it was actually him who was the victim. Um, and just everything about this documentary just hits you hard because when you look back at some of the jokes that they were doing, you weren't really realizing they were adult themed until you watch this documentary, and it does change your whole perspective. Now, I will state this is a hard watch. I was starting to really tear up around the Drake, when Drake Bell's talking about the whole entire situation. It just really, really like just hit me, man. Um, and the cast members do talk about how they were casted and some of the issues they had to deal with personally, and you just feel for them. You really do. And it's so sad that they had to go through all that while we at home are watching something that we absolutely love and are being entertained and laughing, but we're not, you don't realize what's really going on behind the camera, and it is going to change your whole perspective on the entire thing. Now, Dan Schneider, now before I get into him, don't hate Nickelodeon as a whole because there was a lot of stuff that happened way before Dan Schneider was even working for Nickelodeon. But I do feel like Nickelodeon failed in some capacity. I feel like Hollywood and just in general in the 90s failed a lot with, child actors, not just the 90s, the 80s as well. And I feel like a lot of it is the reason why a lot of these former child actors are no longer with us. Um, that have gone and passed, um, but yeah, so Dan Schneider is a complete and utter creep, and in most cases is a POS. When you hear the stories of how some of the women were treated, how some of the cast members were treated, was just not right. And then he has the audacity to make a video recently to apologize. Like, why now? You're only doing it because the documentary kind of came out and people talked about how you truly are. Excuse me. So, yeah, it's crazy on everything. They talk about some of the jokes. They talk about how Dan was towards some of the cast members, some of the writers, and just he's a creep. He really, really is just a creep. Um, and one thing that really I really feel bad on is Katrina Johnson. Katrina Johnson was one of the original cast members of all of that when it first premiered. And I want to say she was at least there for the first two seasons. I want to say eventually she left after the third season, give or take. I'm not 100% sure on that. Um, but she had originally pitched the idea of having her own show for Nickelodeon. Um, and she really wasn't, you know, listened to. Then want to say and I think she states that she actually came across Amanda Bynes due to somebody she knew because Amanda Bynes was doing this kid stand up. I think they call it the Laughing Factory or something like that. Because they would do this thing where they would have kid comedians and do like a little show there, and Amanda Bynes was there, and I think Katrina let Dan know, and then of course from there, you know, it just kind of spiraled out. He was focused on Amanda. Her dad was kind of like, being manipulated and making sure her career was intact and all this. Just really weird stuff that shouldn't have been going on. Well, then Amanda Bynes gets her own show, and it's just like, what a slap in the face. Katrina Johnson wanted her own show. She tried to pitch the idea, and then Dan creates the Amanda show. Come on, let's be honest. We all know he took it from her. It wasn't his original idea. I'm sure he wouldn't had come up with the idea of the Amanda show if it wasn't for Katrina Johnson making a comment. But yeah, and then it focuses on that. Then you get like Zoe 101. So Dan Schneider only he some of the shows he created, and then others he was a co-creator. And then also produced and things like that, wrote. But like shows like all that, Keenan and Kel, the Amanda Show, Drake and Josh, and so on are stuff I think he was like a full creator on. But there was other shows like I think Henry Danger where he was a co-creator. Um, but it's interesting to hear the stories from these actors and what it did to them mentally. And they had some of them had to go to therapy because of the abuse, and some of the parents, they let a lot of this slide. Like one of the actors' mom, they did interview some parents. Drake Bell's father was interviewed as well, but they do interview one of the parents, and she had stated she wanted to step in, but she didn't because she felt like if she stepped in, that would have ruined his career. Not realizing everything else afterwards, so she kind of regrets that she didn't speak up, and it's just it makes you. It definitely is like a punch in the gut. I think my sister had stated that you love the network, you love all these shows, and then you watch this and you're just punched in the gut. It really makes you think. Now, for me, I've always been supported by the actor's work. To me, it's the actor who what's the term I'm looking for? Support. I support their work. So anybody who's done the game shows like Nick Arcade or Wild and Crazy Kids, or the live action shows like Are You Afraid of the Dark, or animated shows like Angry Beavers, I will always support the people who took the time out that worked on that. And I'm talking about the people who are not creeps. Like these writers who were writers for all that. I give them props to doing what they needed to. I support their work, but I'm not going to support somebody like Dan Schneider. I'm going to support the people who made an effort to do what they could in order to not only get treated right, but to put their contribution into a show. So I can separate that. Um, and it's the same with any show and any, movie or anything like that. I'm always going to support everybody else who worked on it, who did what they needed to, and not support the person who's a complete a-hole. Um, and just hearing Drake Bell's story was just absolutely awful. I did come across a TikTok user who was talking about a situation that Drake Bell got himself into, and that whole situation is kind of misinformation. People do talk about Drake Bell has stated on a podcast what actually happened, and that information is what happened. Everybody else thinks it's differently. But the more I listen to this video, even though these two different things happened in different years, the way it played out were very similar, apparently. And it just kind of made me think, like, did this person try to set up Drake Bell? And that person in the video who talked about it even stated, like, it was like if you're gonna take me down, I'm gonna take you down. And Drake Bell talks about, I'm not going to say the guy's name. Drake Bell says that at the hearing, like, this guy had so many people, and the celebrity of people, the actor who played Cyclops in the X-Men movies, uh, Alan Thicke, uh, who was the father in Growing Pains, uh, Will Friedle and Brighter Strong from Boy Meets World, and just the list goes on. Was it Taron Killam, um, who was a Saturday Night Live cast member? He's been in a lot of other things. I think at one point he used to do Mad TV during their later seasons before they ended the series together, and he was also, I don't know if he's still married to her, but he's also married to the actress who played Robin, Colby Smulders. From She played Robin in How I Met Your Mother. He was writing letters in support of this creep. Um, and Drake Bell even told him in the courtroom, like, you guys, basically, he has to live with something that was horrible. And basically, basically called him out and was like, look, you guys get to see something different in your eyes, and what I see is completely different, something like that. I wish I could say more, but I highly, highly recommend this documentary. I don't think you guys will be disappointed. It will change your perspective on Nickelodeon and these shows in an entirety. Um, it will change your mind on. It'll change your mindset when it comes to the studio, Nickelodeon studio. But don't try to give those, who did shows before all that, like, all the other shows, Space Cases and Are You Afraid of the Dark and Clarissa Explains It All, stuff that guys like Dan Schneider was never a part of. Don't bash the network, because a lot of those shows he wasn't around. So support, if you're going to support the networks, at least support the people who've made an effort to give us great content, and the work that they did. And the people in all that, and everybody who had to go through this unfortunate and terrifying experience, support their work, because they do put a lot of effort into it, and they deserve better, that's for sure. And the fact that Dan Schneider took, what, over 20 years to an issue, or 30 years to 30, well, yeah, close to 30, maybe, give or take, to initiate, to issue an apology. Screw that. I have no respect for that guy. Your apology is nothing. And it's funny because it's on his YouTube channel. From what I heard, I did see some clips, but he's being interviewed by one of the actors who plays in iCarly. He owns the smoothie shop. Like, excuse me. It's like, if it was going to be an official apology, somebody else should have been doing it, interviewing him. And second, you're doing it off of after the fact that a documentary came out and people were sharing their stories like how much of an a-hole this guy is. Just, it's unfortunate. But yeah, I don't want to make this video too long. If you guys have not seen Quiet on the Set, go check out this documentary. It was very interesting. It definitely opened my mind up when it comes to Nickelodeon and a lot of the shows that some of us have grown up with. I just hear their stories. It hits hard. I think at times it can be a hard watch, especially when you get to the Drake Bell stuff. But it'll mess with your emotions for sure. But if you've seen this, I want to know what your thoughts are. Comment down below, and if you haven't, give this a watch. You will not be disappointed. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like movie reviews, unboxings, and things like this. And yeah, I wish I could say more. If you enjoyed my video, give it a thumbs up. It is much appreciated. And share my video. Get my name out there. The more that subscribe, the more people that watch, the more my watch hours go up. And we're trying to hit a goal of being monetized by the end of the year. This is a dream. YouTube's a dream, and it's always going to be a dream. And I'm gonna work hard to get to that point. I actually long term, I would like to do a movie hunting movie, where I go to different different locations and meet different YouTubers and go movie hunting, and do like a little mini interview with each YouTuber, you know, on what are their favorite things about hunting, what inspired them to be on, inspired them to do YouTube, what really got them into, wanting to watch movies more often than other things. I know another YouTuber who decided to do like a documentary on like collecting, but I wanted to do something where like you get really in depth with these YouTubers and what really inspired them, and why they love movies so much. I don't know, something similar to that, I guess. I don't know. But I think like a movie hunting video, like a full length movie hunting movie with YouTubers, I think would be cool. Um, but yeah, wish I could say more, but thank you guys so much for the support. Thank you guys for tuning in to my videos. And till next time, I'm Film Talk with Mikey, and we'll talk films. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Peace.